Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who understand that there's more to entrepreneurship than finding the latest flash-in-the-pan strategies, who understand that in order to build your empire, you need a solid foundation. I wholeheartedly believe that entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you can be on, and it's my mission to help you make that journey easier. In this show, I bring together the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist and mindset coach behind this show, and you're listening to the Wired for Success podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another amazing episode of the Wired for Success podcast. Today, I'm excited to talk to Bianca Riemer, who's a multi-award winning stock market analyst turned peak performance coach who helps fatigued high achievers switch off from work so that they can finally reconnect with the people that are important to them. So welcome, Bianca, and thank you so much for being on my show today. I'm sure our high-achieving listeners can learn a lot from you.
Thanks for having me, Claudia.
It's gonna be so good. So I'd like to start with a question that I always ask all my guests in the beginning, and that is, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up doing what you're doing right now? Because it's not so obvious how you got from being an award-winning stock market analyst to becoming a peak performance coach. What happened?
Yes, what happened? That's such a good question. So basically, I was doing really well in my stockbroking career before I had children already. And then my career really took off after I had children, actually, when I started working a lot less. But what also happened is that both of my parents actually died when I had my children. So my father passed away 4 weeks before my first son was born. My mother passed away a year after. And my parents were both very hardworking entrepreneurs. And I felt that it doesn't have to be like that. You know, I had really, my career in stockbroking really had taken off after I started taking a lot better care of myself, setting better boundaries. And that actually gave me a lot more respect for my colleagues and my clients. And it sounds crazy, I know, and I never would have thought that this would be possible when I suffered from burnout at the beginning of my career myself. But actually, when you start respecting yourself a lot more, then other people will do that too, and that's when you achieve real success, which is that balance, right, between doing really well in your career, but also having a good relationship and feeling healthy. And since I knew that I had achieved that myself, and my parents never did that, I kind of felt this responsibility to help other people, you know, be successful in life, not just in their business, but be successful in life without having to sacrifice their relationships or their health. So I feel very strongly about that. And it was a very scary move to leave a very successful career, you know, at the pinnacle, because even though I had children and it meant that my hours were slightly reduced, my employers continued to pay me more every year, and my clients continued to vote me at the top of my sector globally. So it was hard to leave. It was scary to leave. But I have to say, I feel so much more fulfilled now to be working with amazing people and who are seeing amazing results.
I love that. That's such a wonderful story, and it's such a needed message because I've grown up in a kind of similar environment. So my parents were both very hardworking, and I kind of grew up with the belief that, you know, taking a break is for losers. So you have to do all the work first, and you can't take a break until you have ticked off everything from your to-do list. But of course, you never get to that point where you have ticked everything off your to-do list. So that ended in a terrible burnout. And yeah, I know what that's like, and it's not a good place to be in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So And I always find it so interesting how our priorities change during our lives, right? So at this point in your life, what does success look like for you right now? What are you working towards?
Yeah, so success basically for me means to do the things that I said that I would do
Mm-hmm.
without having to sacrifice anything. So success for me means knowing what I want and knowing that I can have it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Good.
for me meant getting rid of all these subconscious blocks, these subconscious saboteurs, as I like to call them, like the insecure high achiever syndrome or the hustler syndrome, right? The hustler syndrome basically for me means I'm sitting on the sofa, I'm not doing anything, but then my husband comes in and I'm like pretending that I'm working on my phone. So, and my husband couldn't care less, but there was like a subconscious part of me who just didn't want to be seen to not be working because
Exactly.
if you're not hard working, then clearly you're not a virtuous person.
Yeah,
And
I've done that.
exactly. And so I had to do the inner work to really get over that and allow myself to be peaceful and just be with myself without necessarily doing stuff all the time, because it's the busy work that kills us, right? It's the busy work that leads to burnout. We've all heard of the 20-80 principle, whereby 20% of what we do gives us 80% of the success that we're after. So nowadays I spend a lot of time and energy on identifying the 20%
So
that
good.
will give me the 80%.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's when you give yourself the permission to actually invest some of your time in doing that, in identifying the 20% that will give you the 80%. That's when you achieve true success in all areas of your life. So where you feel like you're achieving in your business, and where you also feel like you can allow yourself to be truly present in your relationships, and of course feel healthy and full of vitality.
Yeah, that's such a good tip, because what I'm seeing a lot is that entrepreneurs think they have to choose to either have a successful business or have a great personal life and have all the experiences that they want to have in life. But as you said, this is just not true, right? So we why don't you tell us or tell our listeners what's your perspective on how to have that successful business without sacrificing your personal life? So does it all come down to this 80-20% rule, or is there something else that you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, for me, having a business means that you provide value to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So the key really is to find out what they want. What does your client really want? And then you give it to them. So that's, of course, a very simple thing, but that's the key principle that's often forgotten in all the things that we think we need to do as entrepreneurs. But for me, what it really boils down to is providing value to somebody who wants it.
Who wants it? That's a
Yeah,
very important point.
exactly. So identify what your people want and then give it to them.
Mm.
And if it's what they want, if it's what they need, then they will pay you for it. Everything else is just busy work
Mm.
at the end of the day. So before you go and redo your whole website or do the things that you think you need to do, ask yourself the question, why are they not buying?
Mm.
Right?
That's a
Does
tough
it
one.
really have to do with the colors of your website or which fonts you use or with how many things you put on Pinterest or on Facebook or how many ads you have? No, at the end of the day, if you can't sell something organically, then all the money that you waste on ads is just wasted.
Mm.
So for me, the key really is to have a very simple business model of just knowing what your people want and giving it to them.
So
And
it's
when
yeah.
you figure that out, that's super scalable, because once you've sold organically, that's when you can start doing all the other stuff, the Pinterest and the Facebook ads and everything else. But yes, it all boils down to just simplicity. And you can multiply whatever worked for you.
So it's this message to market fit that has to be perfect and hit the mark, right? And the other thing that you mentioned and that I've seen a lot is that people target an audience that is not yet problem aware. So they don't know yet that they need your solution. They might need it, but they don't know it yet. And then we spend so much time just trying to educate them and making them aware of their problem. And that is something where a lot of people or beginning entrepreneurs can get burned out, I think. So if they started to target people who are already problem aware, it would probably be so much easier for them.
Yes, exactly. I think one mistake that I made at the very beginning is to not leverage my own network enough. I had this belief for some reason that I needed to find new people who had that problem. And I never really looked inside my network, the people I already knew. And but basically, most of my clients initially came from my existing network. Once they knew what it was that I did, they say, hey, yes, I love that. And I trust you because I already know you and I know that you've been through this. And therefore, I feel like you can help me. So I think maybe a mistake that people do make is that they believe they need to find a bigger audience and they need to find new people, but don't forget about the warm people that are already in your audience, who already know and trust you, right? And who are therefore so much easier to serve because you don't have to jump through quite so many hoops. And then I think a really big factor is also the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind and the belief that you can help people and that people want your help, right? Those are two beliefs that I find are so often the root cause for why somebody isn't finding success and for why they're needing to hustle so much and running after shiny objects and working hard without really having something to show for it at the end of the day. It's these what we call limiting beliefs about themselves that are keeping them stuck in the hustle and enduring the 80% of things that don't lead anywhere, right? Whereas if you believe that it can be easy and that the people that want your help are right in front of you, that's when the magic happens. That's when you find success in your business without having to sacrifice anything else, because you find that you only need to work a few hours every day to reach the success that you want in your business, and then you can switch off and go for a run or do whatever you want to feel healthy and to feel connected to the people in your life.
That's such an important one, this limiting belief, identifying this limiting belief. That's one of the limiting beliefs that I have struggled with a lot, because I grew up with the same belief that success is hard. Success is hard. You always have to work very, very hard to achieve something. And everything that comes easy is just not worth it. So you have to put in the hard work to make it work. And it's really difficult to let go of that belief and just to turn it around, or even in the beginning to become aware of that belief, that you're doing all the hustling and you're doing all the work and spinning your wheels because you have this sometimes subconscious belief that it just has to be hard and it has to be a certain way, right? And something else that you mentioned about your networks got me thinking, because I don't know about you, but I've experienced that as soon as I started talking to my friends, like my real life friends, not just the online friends, but the real life friends around me about what I do, all of them, or not all of them, but a lot of them, they wanted my help. But then it's this feeling weird about, you don't really want to charge your friend that you have known for so many years. And I think that's often a reason why we try to gain a bigger audience first, because it feels weird to change that relationship with the people that you already know. What's your opinion about that?
Yes, absolutely. So it's these so-called money blocks, as I like to call them, whereby we think that, if there's an existing relationship that's already in place, right, like with your friends, then charging them seems like you're taking advantage of them.
Yes.
Because given that they're your friend, you should just help them for free, right?
Exactly.
And it's about changing that relationship that you have with money. Because at the end of the day, if you went to a restaurant and had a really nice meal, and the restaurant owner happens to be a good acquaintance or friend, would you still expect to have to pay for that meal, right? So the energy exchange is, you have the meal, you pay me money. So if you're a service-based entrepreneur and you provide a service to one of your friends, and it may be coaching, it may be a transformation, something that's not necessarily visible as the meal would be or a website would be, right? Then knowing that the transformation that you provide has got a huge, immense use value for your friend over time, that goes way beyond the time that you spend together in the session. And then pricing that. And yes, it's a mindset thing, and it goes back to, especially for women. I find women find it so much harder than men to charge the correct price for the value that they provide, because we grow up with films where the good girl is always the poor girl, right? The mean girl is the rich girl, right? So we grow up with, like in The Devil Wears Prada, when Anne Hathaway, when she's poor, she's like the good, likable girl, and then she goes up the ranks in the company and she becomes this mean girl, right? And by watching these films, we basically start believing, or we acquire these subconscious beliefs that, the mean girls, rich people are mean, good people, humble people are virtuous. And these subconscious beliefs run the show when we run our business, right? When it comes to hiking our fees, when it comes to creating high-end packages, right? And that's why we need to do the subconscious work to find these beliefs in our past and find out when they were created, so that we can fix them and we can move on with our business.
So true. And as you said, especially women, or even more the mom entrepreneurs out there, what I've seen a lot is that they especially struggle with integrating their roles as a mom and as an entrepreneur, because again, those are concepts that we acquired during our childhood. And as the role of a mom is just this always giving, mom always puts everyone else first, and just that concept, and then integrating it with the concept of an entrepreneur who has to, grow their business and work hard. So how do these two go together, and how were you able to continue growing your business after having kids?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So I had my kids when I was still in corporate, and I worked in an environment where 12-hour days were the norm. That was the minimum. So, and I said no to 12-hour days. I was still breastfeeding my children until they were, I breastfed the two of them 3.5 years in total. And I went back after 9 months for each child. So I was still breastfeeding them when I went back to work. And, 12 hours without feeding your child can get very painful.
Absolutely.
So I told my boss when I got back, so we started at 7, and I told him, in the future, I'm going to leave this office at 5:30. So that I can feed my baby and put him to bed. And he said, fine. He said, fine. So in my mind, I decided that I was going to finish whatever I had to do that day by 5 o'clock and give myself that half-hour grace time to, chit chat with people and say bye and make it out of the office. And the amazing thing that happened was, I didn't expect to grow my career at that stage. I didn't expect to advance and to win prizes and awards. But what happened is that with that mindset that the task will take the amount of time that is allocated to it, with that mindset, it works. It works because 5 o'clock was my watershed. I was unwilling to still be working after 5. So whatever needed to be done, it was going to get done. It wasn't going to be perfect. And that was a massive, massive thing for me, right? Because as a mom and also as a high achiever, as I like to see myself, things had to be perfect.
Absolutely.
But things also had to get done, and I didn't want to work all those hours. So basically, what I decided was that done is better than perfect. I'm just going to give it a try. And if they fire me, then so be it. I'm not going to tolerate the long hours anymore. And what actually happened is that everything I did was on time. I finished everything on time. I showed myself that respect because I had decided that I was going to give my children that respect. And when I was at work, 100% of me was at work. There was no mobile phone. There were no pictures of my children on my desk. I was at work. I was, the identity that I had at work was that I was a high achieving stock market analyst, that I respected myself, and that I expected other people to respect myself. And that's when the magic started happening. So that's when my clients' respect for me went through the roof. And also, I think as a mother, the meta that I brought to that business was that, with the breastfeeding and all the changes in my brain that had happened during pregnancy, right, where it makes you so much more empathetic, was that I became a much better listener. I listened to my clients so much better. And it happened a lot of times where my boss thought I wasn't doing anything because I was just sitting on my chair with my headphones on. And he'd look over to me and say, Bianca, what are you doing? Are you not working? And I was actually on a phone call to a client, just listening to what they were telling me. Right. And it was, of course, the complete opposite to what everybody else was doing, because as stockbrokers, we create ideas and then we sell them. And what I was doing was I had created ideas and I published it. The clients would call me and just tell me what they were thinking. In a way, it was such a lazy approach looking back, and lazy not as in judging the laziness, but in actually advocating the laziness. Because by listening to my clients, I knew exactly how they were thinking in their head. And by sometimes feeding back to them where I wouldn't agree with them, I had an idea to write a report about a stock, right? Because that's what we did as stock market analysts. We found the gap of knowledge or thinking in the market and then write a report about that. And just by listening to my clients, and they were calling me to bounce off ideas, etc., that's when the magic started happening. So as an entrepreneur, after I'd gone and made all the mistakes and, shiny object syndrome, overworking until 3 a.m., beating myself up for not achieving anything, right? I made all those mistakes at the beginning. When I finally found myself and centered myself and looked at what worked for me in corporate and then applied it to my business, that's again when the magic started happening. So during the daytime when my children are with somebody else who's looking after them, I'm fully, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a coach, I'm serving my clients. In the evening, my phone and laptop are shut. They are out of sight.
Yeah.
They're not even in my field of vision, because if they were, the temptation is just too big. In food science, they say that you eat 70% more when the food is in your line of vision. And the same is true for the addiction that we all have to our phones and our laptops, right? When they're in your field of vision, and you have like a spare second, let me just see what's happening on LinkedIn or Facebook or BBC News.
Takes the temptation away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really, for me, what really worked is this zoning of time where, okay, this time is for work and I'm 100% work, and this time is for family and I'm 100% family. So to have these set boundaries for myself, also to know that that's who I am. I'm being a mother now. I'm not a businesswoman anymore. That finishes at 5 p.m. From 5 p.m. onwards, I'm being a mother. And then once the children are in bed, I'm being a wife, right? Because let's not forget, that's also
Yeah,
super important, right?
it is.
So to really allow myself to focus on what's important for me, and that's all these things, my business, my family, my children, my husband, and also my health. So this morning I went for a run before the day even started. I think I really enjoy running, and at the beginning of entrepreneurship, I use the running as a reward for having accomplished something in my business. Here's the thing, I never went for a run because I never felt like I deserved the reward, because I always thought that I hadn't done enough yet, right? And that's where the downward spiral started spiraling faster. So whereas when I put the run at the beginning of my day, it sets me up because it energizes me. I listen to my favorite tunes, I move my body. It doesn't have to be running. If you don't like running, maybe you like dancing or swimming or going for a walk. And that's what sets you up for being in who you want to be in your business, right? Because you've got that energy flowing through your body.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is have your priorities and that are very clear. Focus 100% on what you're doing at a time, and then just just finding the easiest way to do something. Don't
Yeah.
make it harder than it has to be. Allow it to be easy and go with the flow. So I love that.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier, right? We grow up thinking that unless we've worked really hard for something, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what if the opposite were true, where it doesn't have to be hard?
It could be fun.
Yeah, it can be fun, it can be easy, it can be enjoyable. And how much more transformation can you bring to your clients, or what better service can you bring to your clients if you allow it to be fun?
Yeah, it's just better. Better is better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always like to show my listeners that there are different ways to approach and overcome challenges. So, what aspect of your life do you find most challenging right now, and how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, what do I find challenging? I think as somebody who's very ambitious, I'm always trying to look for a better way to do
Mhm.
things.
Yes.
So, shiny object syndrome is completely real for me too, right? And people are very good these days at writing Facebook ads and really, drawing you into their webinar or into their new process or this new thing that they've got. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to know more, right? I'm just inherently super curious. And that's when I just have to stop myself. And I have to remind myself, Bianca, that you can always do more. There is always going to be other ways that work for other people.
Yeah,
And what you have created is already working well for you.
that's true.
So if something is working, that's when you can multiply it. And I just have to consciously remind myself of that,
Mm.
rather than trying the next thing and trying the next thing and trying the next thing. Because the truth is, the first time you try something, it's probably not going to work as well as the 100th time you try something, right? We've all learned to ride a bike. It probably didn't work perfectly the first time. So once you've found your process, and I have to remind myself of that all the time, once you've found your process that works, that's when you double down on it. And that's when you just have to get on the no train and stay on that train and just say no to everything else that might distract you from what's already working for you. And for your listeners who haven't found their thing yet, who are still really inside the shiny object syndrome, here's what worked for me. So think about who you are and what you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you're a chatty person, maybe podcasts and Facebook Lives is the way to grow. If you love writing, then there's no point beating yourself up over the fact that you don't really enjoy being on video. Writing works really, really well for some people. I know people who've got 7-figure businesses just posting blogs and long copy posts on social media, and that's how they attract their clients, right? Whatever strategy you have tried, it works for people.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to stick with it and make it work for you. And if you don't enjoy it, then it's probably not the right thing for you.
That's so true. Yeah. Before we go, can you please tell our listeners where they can find you online if they want to connect with you or learn more about you and what you do?
Yes, so I have a website. It's www.biancariemer.com, and I have a freebie on my website as well, which is a 5-day course where people can learn how to really amplify their physical and emotional energy so that they can show up as better beings in their business and really do what needs doing in their business with so much more energy so that it happens quicker and they can go home quicker and enjoy life with their family without constantly having to think about what they haven't done in their business. So that's a freebie on my website, and I'm also on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Oh, perfect. That sounds really, really good. And I hope people take you up on your offer. And thank you so much for this wonderful interview and for sharing all these amazing tips and insights. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. It was really fun chatting to you.
Wishing you a wonderful day and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show. It would mean the world to me because you'd help me reach more entrepreneurs like yourself who would love this show. If you'd like to learn more about creating a widely successful business without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity, make sure to stick around and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And why don't you help me spread the word and share this show with your friends? I'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure your friends will too. Want to continue this conversation, build real relationships, and join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs? Come join my free Facebook community for visionary entrepreneurs. I would love to see you there. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, grab my free brain priming audio file for entrepreneurs and start priming your brain for success in less than 5 minutes each morning. Curious? You can learn more about how this works and download the audio file at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions. Until next time, bye!